Of the UP-DND Accord, the Duterte Youth Party list is now pushing for the cancellation of the similar agreement between the Defense Department and the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And after naming BTS as their latest ambassadors, Smart promises to bring the Grammy-nominated superstars to the Philippines. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. Kicking off today's newscast with vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. saying we may receive Moderna vaccines as early as May. Greg Gregorio with the details.
Moderna shots may arrive in the country sooner than scheduled. From an original delivery target of September, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says supply from the U.S. drug maker may come as early as May. He says the negotiation with Moderna is already finished, with a term sheet expected to be signed either today or tomorrow. Of the 20 million Moderna doses, 12 million are pooled by the private sector and local government unit through a tripartite agreement. The rest is courtesy of the national government.
So ginawa namin, binalas namin, we computed it. Nakita namin is 8 million lang na Moderna ang mabibili namin to get a bunch of yung Pfizer. For example, 30 million of Pfizer.
Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine was reported to have 94.5% efficacy. The company has been advised to process their application for emergency use authorization with the Food and Drug Administration.
Iwatig na rin po sila na mag-apply din sila ng EUA sa atin. At kung sinabi nga po ni Sec. Charlie na baka mga April or baka May pa daw po darating dito yung ang Moderna, then they will have enough time to process their EUA before the supplies coming here.
So far, the FDA is still evaluating the EUA applications of AstraZeneca and Gamaleya. Domingo mentioned that 2 other vaccine manufacturers intend to apply for emergency use permit. These are the Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute of India. As for Sinovac, their application to conduct Phase 3 clinical trials has been approved, but their EUA has yet to be approved, pending the submission of their Phase 3 clinical trial data from abroad. The FDA says it cannot say whether Sinovac's request for an EUA may be released in time for the delivery of the initial 50,000 doses on February 20.
Kung sakali naman po na meron ng bakuna pero hindi pa po lumalabas ang EUA, hindi pa po maaaring gamitin.
Domingo also says that FDA approval is no longer needed for the use of donated COVID-19 vaccines. China recently pledged to donate 500,000 doses of a yet unnamed shot. But in a statement, the DOH says the vaccine must first receive authorization from the FDA before it's administered to the public. So far, only Pfizer's vaccine has an EUA in the Philippines, but this may still change following the reported deaths of over a dozen elderly in Norway who received Pfizer shots.
Kami naman po ay nakipag-ugnayan na sa Pfizer para nga po pag meron lumabas na po ang resulta ng mga pag-aaral ay ma-update po tayo. Masyado ng matatanda at mahihina ang katawan ay hindi po maaaring bigyan ng bakuna nito, no?
Domingo assured the public that necessary revisions on protocols over the use of Pfizer shots will be made prior to the rollout of the vaccine in the country. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
But we can't celebrate just yet. The state of California in the U.S. is reporting allergic reactions from patients who received Moderna vaccines. Moderna says the adverse reactions only came from a particular batch from San Diego. Despite this, California's top epidemiologist has recommended to pause the vaccination from the said batch while it is undergoing investigation. Nearly 1 million doses from the lot have been distributed, and only about 307,000 units remain in storage. Moderna says it is working closely with U.S. health regulators to understand these cases. Cold storage facilities in different parts of the country are now ready to receive COVID-19 vaccines, but not all of them can store Pfizer's shots, since these require extremely low temperatures of at least negative 80 degrees Celsius. Shaila Francisco with the story.
The Cold Chain Association of the Philippines is still offering its services to store vaccines despite no formal proposals from the government. 5 of the 18 firms tapped for the government's vaccination program are members of the association. The National Task Force Against COVID-19 has released the names of 18 third-party companies, including logistics and transport firms and cold storage facilities for the inoculation program. The group says only those from Luzon have been tapped so far.
The national distribution process obviously will have to involve all these parts of the country. And that is why it may be necessary to plan how to move vaccines from Metro Manila to the different areas involved. Makakatulong sana kami kung sasabihin lang ng gobyerno na kailangan nila kami.
Dizon also notes the government can save with the help of the association since they may no longer need to invest in new facilities. The association is also confident that its facilities are capable of handling the vaccines. Some of the cold storage have a normal fridge temperature of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius that can accommodate vaccines such as those from Sinovac, Sinopharm, and AstraZeneca. Other shots require a much lower temperature. In this cold storage facility that has a temperature of negative 20 degrees Celsius, you can already store Moderna vaccine. And with this big of a space, up to 100 million doses can be stored here. However, the group's capacity to store vaccines, like that of Pfizer, which requires between negative 80 and 60 degrees Celsius, are limited, since there was no need for that before. Also, only few of its members have the capability to accommodate the shots. Another challenge is to relocate the storage for food once the government links up with them.
Depende kung sasabihin ng gobyerno na ganitong kalaking kwarto ang kailangan namin at hindi pwedeng magkalapit ang pagkain at ang bakuna, then ang challenge lang sa amin is saan mo ililipat yung pagkain na nakalagay dito ngayon. And that is something that we will be able to handle easily enough.
The Agriculture Department has no issues with putting vaccines in cold storages intended for food, as long as it is properly divided and insulated. For its part, the National Task Force says it will contact the Cold Chain Association soon.
28 cold chain providers na po ang nakausap at meron pa pong 5 kinakausap sa kasalukuyan. Ang importante pong maintindihan natin na very special po ang kinakailangang mga facilities para sa mga bakunang padating. Ito po ang tinatawag nilang pharma-grade cold chain facilities or pharma-grade cold storage facilities. At ito pong mahigit na 30 ito ang mga pinakamalalaking mga kumpanya na merong ganitong capacity.
The task force is set to visit different facilities in preparation for the vaccine rollout next month. Shaila Francisco, We Are One News.
Here are the biggest stories from the dailies. Filipino Star Ngayon reports that President Duterte is willing to receive the first Sinovac shot in the country, but only in private. Palace spokesperson Harry Roque explained that the president is taking the route of Britain's Queen Elizabeth and her husband. This is the second time that the president appears to have changed his mind on whether he wants to be injected with a coronavirus vaccine. This from Business World, the health department says the Philippines will first wait for emergency use authorization from the FDA before using the 500,000 vaccine doses donated by China. The FDA, though, is singing a different tune as Director General Eric Domingo says the government may accept and use the Chinese vaccines even without an EUA in the Philippines, as long as Chinese regulators have approved these shots. And this from the Philippine Star, the Trade Department wants to allow children aged 10 years old and above to go out of their homes to help spur the economy. At present, only those aged 15 to 65 are allowed by the Interagency Task Force to go out. Secretary Mon Lopez says he will propose to ease age restrictions to increase consumption, since the economy is still far from pre-pandemic levels. Several youth groups are slamming Duterte Youth Representative Dushel Cardema for calling on the cancellation of the PUP-DND Accord. The Kabataan Party List said Duterte Youth must not take its cue from the president, but from the youth sector who they claim to represent. The College Editors Guild also condemns Duterte Youth for its legislative proposals that are said to be not aligned with the interests of the Filipino youth. PUP campus journalists cried foul over Cardema's proposal, describing it as a desperate move to control academic freedom. Members of the UP community maintain that there is no organized recruitment of rebel groups within the state-used campuses. UP Vice President for Public Affairs Elena Pernia says it's unfair to brand the university as a breeding ground for rebels. Pernia noted that UP has also produced individuals with significant contributions to the country, like presidents, politicians, scientists, and leaders in various industries.
Actually, the university will not support any kind of sedition, any kind of violence, any kind of recruitment that will put our students in danger. Bukod ng dami naman ang mga UP na napupunta sa sektor ng gobyerno, sa sektor ng industriya.
Meanwhile, former chairperson of the League of Filipino Students, Sonia Soto, said the government should carefully reassess its move to terminate the UP-DND Accord. Soto, who signed the 1981 Soto-Enrile Agreement, also urged defense officials to look back on the country's history first before considering this abrogation. Soto added that activists such as herself were also tagged as communists during the martial law era.
Lahat ng kombinasyon na yan, tingin ko, nakaka-contribute kung bakit parang meron din nagtatagumpay dun sa isolation sa mga aktivista ngayon. Tulad ng kung papaano, inattempt din na i-isolate yung mga aktivista noon sa masang estudyante.
Meanwhile, the Integrated Bar of the Philippines insists that there is more to the termination of the UP-DND Accord than its legality. In an interview with One News' The Chiefs, IBP President Domingo Cayosa says the department can validly end the agreement whenever it wants. However, Cayosa argued that the issue is about fairness and courtesy, which must be granted to both sides.
Where is the statesmanship? Where is the courtesy? Where is the mutual trust and respect between agencies of government? Alalahan ko natin yung UP, gobyerno din yan eh. As a matter of fact, mas malaki ang backlash sa kanila. Hindi lang na it will increase the activism of UP. UP will outlast this presidency. It will outlast this government. And UP is much bigger than any one of us, with any government or president. Yung ating tradisyon, honor, excellence, leadership, and service, gagawin natin yan regardless kung sino ang namumuno. But what is clear, or what might be perceived is that mukhang may insecurity ang gobyerno.
The Kabataan Party List is taking action against the abrogation of the decades-long UP-DND Accord. Speaking with 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, KPL representative and UP alumna Sara Elagos says she's now gathering names in Congress to file a resolution in support of reinstating the agreement. This is to ensure that academic freedom and institutional autonomy are upheld not just in UP, but in all educational institutions.
Napakahalaga nung gina-guarantee na bawal pong manghimasok o mag-interfere sa peaceful protest sa loob ng university. At yung ganito po na assurance ay siyang nakakatulong at napakalaki talaga ng ambag para maisakatuparan ng universities, ng colleges, yung mga schools bilang malaya na espasyo para makapagpahayag ng kanilang mga saloobin, ng kanilang mga hinaing, mga panawagan at makapagpetisyon sa gobyerno tungkol po sa kanilang mga hinahain.
On now to some good news. Smart Communications vows to do its very best to bring BTS back to the Philippines. This comes after the company announced its partnership with a Grammy-nominated group. In an interview, Smart representatives admitted that it was tough to make the global stars say yes to the partnership. But in the end, the two parties agreed thanks to their shared brand messages. In the meantime, Smart says we have to stay tuned for more because this is just the beginning.
Palaki ng palaki, pasabog ng pasabog. Ganun mangyayari dito, right? So, expect, like I said, this is just the teaser announcement. And by the fact it's a teaser, it means we've got something bigger and more coming. But we don't wanna, we gotta get get people to be anticipating because it's a surprise, diba? And surprises are best when they just see it, unexpected in front of you. So that's what we want to do. But expect it to be big.
Here are the stories to watch out for later today. The Capitol is ready for the inauguration of U.S. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. We'll give you the updates straight from the U.S. PUP students will be staging a protest in Manila in response to the impending termination of the PUP-DND Accord. And we'll take a look at the cold storage facility in Parañaque with vaccine czar Carlito Galvez and the rest of the NTF's vaccine cluster. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later at 10 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.
Na-unplug ko yung aking earphone. Yes, sir.